Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Andrew Kirchhoff, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the Fantasy Football Week 9 running back rankings. So, I'll be, as usual, going over my 4 starts of the week at the running back position, while also following that with a couple statistics at the running back position that might give you guys more interest to start specific players and sit other players going into Week 9 of the fantasy football season. I know many of us are impacted with bye weeks, so it is going to be difficult to put together lineups, especially if you are a team filled with Week 9 buys. So after that, I'm going to be going over my 1 through 36 running back rankings for Week 9, and that's pretty much it. If you would like, there are timestamps below in the description for each player that I talk about. But without further ado, I just want to go ahead and thank all of you who have subscribed. This upload probably should have been earlier, but I haven't been feeling well as of late. Hit with the bug this past weekend, so putting out videos has just been a little bit slower, so bear with me, everybody. But either way, thank you all of you who have subscribed. Continue to comment, like my videos, and let's get right into it, shall we? Goodness gracious, I love James White. It's unbelievable. I had to put him on the thumbnail. It was inevitable. He had to become, the go-to. He's too good. Wins me. I mean, I think the statistic that I saw earlier today was, besides Gurley, Kamara, James Conner, and Saquon, the most fantasy points in a full PPR at the running back position is James White. He's the number 5, something like that. It's some insane stuff. So those of us who are reaping the rewards of James White, feels good. Anyway, let's talk about starts of the week. I got 4 running backs that I'm going to be talking about. To begin, let's start with Nick Chubb. Now, many of you may be thinking, well, they just fired their offensive coordinator. They just fired their head coach. Isn't that team going to be in shambles this coming week? Well, there are at least 3 specific reasons I think Nick Chubb is going to be able to have a pretty good week. Number 1, opportunity. We haven't seen much of Duke Johnson as of late at all. Out of the backfield, it has just been Nick Chubb. Duke Johnson, even in the passing game, has not been effective. Therefore, I do not think that the Cleveland Browns are going to be turning to Duke Johnson anytime soon. We know he's had prior success in seasons, 2017 and 2016 with the Cleveland Browns, but they've moved on from Duke Johnson. They've pretty much established that Nick Chubb going forward is going to be the workhorse back. Each of the last 2 weeks, he has had 18 touches on the ground. This past week wasn't as effective considering they played against a Pittsburgh defense who is really great against the run. So Nick Chubb was held to only 65 rushing yards on those 18 carries, but we know he's capable of more. So besides opportunity, what else am I looking forward for Nick Chubb in Week 9 of the fantasy football season? Well, it has to do with matchup. He plays against the Kansas City Chiefs defense. And if you don't already know, the Kansas City Chiefs defense, they give up the most fantasy points to the running back position thus far this season. We'll get more into those statistics a couple slides on from now. But as of right now, where do I see it? I mean, the Chiefs literally give up, let's see, how many points is this per week? It's some insane number. Yes, the Chiefs give up 29.41 half-point PPR scoring points to the running back position on a weekly basis. They give up almost 110 rushing yards, 0.9 touchdowns per game, and almost 70 receiving yards out of the backfield to the running back position on a weekly basis. So you may be thinking, yes, Nick Chubb, he's going to go into a good matchup. They play at home, so Cleveland's going to be a little bit more comfortable. He's going to have the opportunity. What else, Andrew? What else gives Nick Chubb that extra edge to get into my starting lineup this week, considering I have so little options? But either way, Nick Chubb, other than the matchup, the opportunity, just because of the fact that the head coach and the offensive coordinator were fired this past week, I have a feeling that this offense, the interim offensive coordinator as of right now, who's been a positional coach in his past history, I don't think he's going to be able to unleash an offense that is completely tearing apart the Kansas City Chiefs. In fact, I think they're going to have to rely a lot upon the run. This is going to be a little bit different. The team is going to take a little while to adjust. I'm sure they're going to run, similar concepts that they have ran all season long or maybe in years prior. But I still believe that just because of the coordinator change, that is going to force them to run the ball a little bit more, because that is a thing of comfort and a go-to for every single team. So especially because of that, I really think Nick Chubb this week, he's a start for me. Without a doubt, great matchup, great opportunity. And I think they're going to have to run the ball a lot against the Kansas City Chiefs. So there you go. There's Nick Chubb's argument. Now let's move on to the next guy I want to talk about. Goodness gracious, how did we get here, right? I'm talking about Isaiah Crowell. Now, many of you may be thinking, all right, well, Andrew's lost his mind. Well, don't forget, guys. Lamar Miller was not supposed to be great last week, but I called him out as the start of the week. Why? He had a great matchup. He had great opportunity, and he was looking upwardly trending when it comes to fantasy. Now, we know that Isaiah Crowell, he's had some breakout performances this year, but otherwise, he's pretty much been a mediocre / deadbeat running back that is maybe even on your waiver wire this coming week. Just depends on how big your league is, obviously. But as of right now, why do I see Isaiah Crowell having a pretty good week? Well, it's the matchup primarily, right? They play against the Dolphins, who give up the third most fantasy points to the running back position. Now, other than Isaiah Crowell in this backfield, I mentioned Elijah McGuire in the waiver wire video a couple days back. And I've also mentioned Trent Cannon, who is the receiving back out of the backfield for the Jets. But I think because of the fact that the Miami Dolphins have been giving up points in bunches on the ground, that just opens up this Jets offense, who is primarily a running team. They have a very good offensive line, and they want to bruise you. They want to come downfield. They want to run downhill with their running backs, Isaiah Crowell, and they want to be able to score points on the ground effectively because they're trying to still have Sam Darnold learn. They're trying to set up play action with the running game. This is a team that is a run-first offense, without a doubt. Obviously, their struggles this year have been dictated on the fact that they're not able to run the ball in certain games, and they're forced to pass the ball, which causes a lot of turnovers, puts a little bit of strain on the defense, and makes it so where the Jets are, a little bit in a hole, to be honest. So this coming week for Isaiah Crowell, let's look at how many points the Dolphins have been giving up in the last couple weeks. The Dolphins have given up points to running backs every single week. This past week, right? Lamar Miller, 19 points. The week prior, Kerryon Johnson, 18.9 half-point PPR points. The week prior, Tarik Cohen, 19.6. The week prior, Joe Mixon with 19. The week prior to that, Sony Michel and James White combined, 27.2 and 17.2. Guys, it's a fact that the Miami Dolphins defense, they can't stop anything. The trade deadline passed. These guys weren't able to, acquire anything in order to help them out in the running game. So I think Isaiah Crowell and an in-division game, they got to win games in the division. The Jets could still, make a run. They still believe they can. So as of right now, Isaiah Crowell, with the Bilal Powell incident taking place, him not, being on the team anymore due to his injury, or not being able to play, I 100% see Isaiah Crowell as a guy that you can for sure flex and even start depending on how many bye weeks you have this coming week. Imagine if you're an owner of like Saquon and Mixon. Isn't Isaiah Crowell a pretty good play? I think so. Let's go on. And by the way, Barkley and Saquon Barkley and Joe Mixon are both on bye week, so there's a possibility. Either way, let's move on. Let's talk about the next two running backs I wanted to mention for starts of the week this week. We have Matt Breida and Latavius Murray. Let's go with Matt Breida at first. I may have clicked something wrong. Let's go ahead and do that. Come on. Is this going to work? Technical difficulties here, ladies and gentlemen. We will blame the production team on that. All right, anyway, so as I was saying, Matt Breida. Here's the deal. As of late, or my opinion on Matt Breida. If you've been around for a while, you know that I absolutely I'm frustrated with this guy. He should have been a clear-cut, RB2, high-end RB2 at that because of his opportunity within this team. He's had a ton of opportunity. He's been able to win the job over Alfred Morris in the past, but he continues to find himself getting hurt on a weekly basis to the point where it's just frustrating, right? You can't even trust it. You can't trust the backups within this team. Just when you think Matt Breida he's out and he's not going to play this week, dude shows up and he's ready to play, but just doesn't look good. The last couple weeks, right, hasn't been great. 3 weeks ago against the Green Bay Packers, played the first half, scored a touchdown, had about 12 points in fantasy, and was injured and left the game, right? Didn't come back. Okay, at least he put up a good performance. Then the week after that, which we all thought, okay, Matt Breida, it says healthy, says he's going to play, shows up, plays, gets injured, fumbles, gets us all negative points, and disappears. Not a great, situation there. Then he follows it up with, yes, he is still banged up, doesn't take the week off, shows up, only puts up 4.5, well, almost 4.5 fantasy points, even less than that, in half-point PPR scoring leagues. Dude hasn't caught a ball in a couple weeks, which is something to worry about, especially because this team, they're not going to be in games. They're going to have to compete through the air. And the fact that Matt Breida is not catching the ball out of the backfield is concerning. But this is the way I see it. This coming week, I think he still has a questionable tag. Goodness gracious, guys. This is a very risky play. He plays tomorrow. We will know whether he's playing by, a little bit later today. It's Wednesday. We'll get a better inclination on whether he's playing. But I think the matchup is so juicy. These Oakland Raiders defense, they've been giving up too many points in the run game. They're a defense that is, whether it comes to leadership or pass rush or coverage or stopping the run, they're lost. They are completely lost. They're a team that, honestly, what is the game? It's a 1-7 team versus a 1-6 team. Who really wants to win that game? I'm not sure if any of them do. But as of right now, the Oakland Raiders defense is giving up the 5th most running points to the running back position, giving up just about 26.99 points to the running back position, averaging 129 rushing yards on the ground given up, and also a singular touchdown on average per week. Goodness gracious, the Raiders are terrible against the run. We know that. We know that the 49ers are going to have to lean upon the run game this coming week, especially because C.J. Beathard has a wrist injury. I'm not sure if he's going to play. If he doesn't, they'll lean upon the run game even that much more. But even if he does, they're going to have to score points. Derek Carr looked pretty decent last week. I'm sure they're going to be able to score. So hopefully Matt Breida tomorrow on Thursday night could have a good week. I see him potentially doing so. So there's a good chance he's starting on your team this week. All right, the last guy I wanted to mention, Latavius Murray, a guy that's been absolutely crazy. For those of us who own Latavius Murray, not only are we just fired up the last couple weeks, but on top of that, we're just hoping, okay? We're praying, we're hoping that Dalvin Cook doesn't come back, right? Because Latavius Murray, as of the last 3 weeks, ready for these statistics? In half-point PPR scoring, he's done 22.3, 21.3, and 18.0. In the last 3 weeks, he has been fantastic, scoring 4 touchdowns, having over, what is that? Goodness gracious. That's 270 rushing yards on, very few attempts, to be honest. Each of the last 2 weeks hasn't been given the ball a lot, but he's able to produce. He's able to find the end zone. I think this coming week, they're going to have to run the ball more. I mean, the Vikings, they got shellacked this past week against the Saints. They did not look great. They had a nice garbage time touchdown to Thielen at the end of the game, which helped some of the owners. But as of right now, Latavius Murray needs to be more involved within this offense. Dalvin Cook doesn't look like he's coming back anytime soon. Maybe we'll come back for some of our fantasy playoffs, but by that point, what is he going to do? He's going to split carries? He's not going to be very much relevant. So as of right now, Latavius Murray, he's an absolute start going forward. We know that. We've known that for the last, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. So Latavius Murray this coming week playing against the Lions defense, another defense that loves to give up points. They've given up the 6th most fantasy points to the running back position on a weekly basis. We'll see those statistics a little bit more in depth in a bit. But, the funny part is the Lions, they went and they traded for Snacks Harrison, the defensive tackle. His name is not Snacks Harrison, but that's his nickname either way. They went and traded for him. He is a all-pro nose tackle one shade that by all means is fantastic at his job. He's able to plug both the A gaps and make sure that the other team cannot run it up the middle. Well, guess what? This past week, Chris Carson proved that to be a wrong statement. He was able to run for almost 100 yards on this defense, and I think Latavius Murray is going to find some success as well. As I mentioned, the Lions give up 26.67 points in half-point PPR scoring, the 6th most to the running back position thus far this season. And Latavius Murray, he's literally the only running back. He had about 13 carries past week. I think they're going to plus that by at least 10. He's going to have 20 plus carries, at least 24 touches this game, whether it be running, passing, and he's going to be relevant to a good extent. I like Latavius Murray. I think he's a must start without a doubt. I'm sure you guys know that, but just to remind you, 100% play him from here on forth until he hits the bye week. I think he's got a bye week next week, so they might use him even more to get every last ounce out of him to make him feel he'll have a week off. He'll be fine. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on. All right, to the fantasy points against section of this video, pretty much. All right, so this is basically it. This is an up-to-date within the first 9 weeks, within the first 8 weeks of the regular season. How many points teams give to the running back position in half-point PPR. So if you're ranked 1, that means you are the worst defense against the running back position in fantasy football. Kansas City Chiefs, you currently hold the crown. Now, if you're 32, you are the best defense against the running back position, even though the Baltimore Ravens somehow managed to just disappear and give up Carolina a lot of points. And if you haven't already, Christian McCaffrey, he had himself a rushing touchdown, but on top of it, he ended up catching a tipped ball in the end zone to make himself a good, 19, 20-point running back this past week. But either way, just looking at these statistics, you obviously know that, okay, Arizona does not play this week, so you can't match up anybody against them. Atlanta, that is a fantastic matchup. Why? Because Adrian Peterson is coming off another fantastic week. Where does that leave Chris Thompson? I'm not sure if Chris Thompson is going to be used as much if Adrian Peterson is being so effective. Even in the passing game, Adrian Peterson looks great. I mean, he's reborn. The dude has found the fountain of youth, plain and simple. So the Falcons, beware. Play your Adrian Petersons, fire him up, let's go. We know about the Raiders. We know about the Dolphins being trash. The Cincinnati Bengals are on a bye week. The Cleveland Browns, not a great defense. But who do they play this week? They play against Kareem Hunt. Obviously, Kareem Hunt's going to have himself a day. That's not a question. Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing against Christian McCaffrey and the Panthers. Again, it's going to be a great matchup. You'll see by the rankings. But let's go past all these extremely great matchups. The Broncos, another good one. Lamar Miller. All right, let's go into the tougher teams, right? Los Angeles Rams, the Panthers, the Jaguars, the Redskins, the Saints, the Titans, the Eagles, the Steelers, and the Bears Ravens. Okay. So this coming week, is there anybody within those matchups I'm willing to start? Okay, against the Ravens, I'm still starting James Conner. That is without a doubt. You'll see it from the rankings. I am not worried in the slightest bit about that defense. James Conner is a staple of this offense. I think they could even potentially give this man upwards of 25 carries this coming week. I'm not even kidding. You may be thinking I'm crazy. They've done it before with Lev Bell, and what we've seen of James Conner thus far. He's producing statistics that we've never even seen Le'Veon Bell produce, which is pretty crazy, especially because Le'Veon Bell doesn't keep showing up. James Conner, baby, he's firing it up. Other than that, right, the Bears. If you own LeSean McCoy, be careful this week. The Pittsburgh Steelers, I wouldn't start. I mean, Alex Collins, for those, for some of you might have to start him. Ty Montgomery, a newly acquired piece within that offense, could be a decent play. Just be careful with that. The Eagles are on bye week. The Titans play against Ezekiel Elliott. I'm not worried about this Titans defense. I think Ezekiel Elliott is still going to be a consistent, at least, hopefully, please, 18-plus carries. That's what we want, okay? Us Ezekiel Elliott owners, we need, and our Cowboys fans out here, okay? We need to make sure Ezekiel Elliott gets the ball at least 18-plus times on the ground, not counting the 3 targets he needs to get per game in the screen game at least. Hopefully with the acquisition and the chemistry is somewhat built, but either way, hopefully Amari Cooper opens up this offense to the point where we can have some success. Let's move on. Saints who are the Saints playing this week? I completely forget. Who are the Saints? Who's playing against the Saints? The Rams. Oh, baby, it's going to be a fantastic game. Well, I'm starting Todd Gurley. That is not a doubt within my mind. The Redskins. I'd be careful with Ito Smith and Tevin Coleman. You'll see it from my rankings. Just another guy. I mean, these guys have been terrible. I'm just going to be straight up honest with it. I wish Devontae Freeman was still up and ready to go. Dude would be having a great season. But Tevin Coleman, he's just proven he can't be a number 1 running back. He is not being able to produce on a weekly basis to any point. He's playing worse than he played in these seasons where he got way less touches and way less opportunity. He's playing worse, which is insane. Tevin Coleman he's going to be a free agent after the season. So where does that leave him? Because Ito Smith is going to be the number 2 after this season. They're not going to want a 3-headed monster. Devontae Freeman's coming back with that huge contract. Tevin Coleman's going to get re-signed somewhere. And he's proven to everyone he's not really an RB1. So I don't know where he's going to land, but he's definitely going to be an RB2 going forward. Other than that, that's pretty much it when it comes to statistics. You guys have it on your screen. Do with it as you may. If you need it, there it is. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to my running back rankings for week 9 of the fantasy football season. Pretty straightforward. How much time we got? We got a lot of time. So I'm going to take my sweet time, and we're going to go through this patiently and try to give you guys a decent breakdown on every single player. Obviously, some players are a lot easier to suggest starting, considering like Todd Gurley scores 30 points a week. So yeah, Anyway, let's go ahead and go through this, shall we? Let me just go ahead and pull up something really quickly, if you guys don't mind. I'm curious. I'm curious how many points. Okay, let's look at Todd Gurley's stats this week, or thus far this season. Todd Gurley in half-point PPR scoring has scored 224.6 fantasy points this season. Now, the next closest running back to him is 50 points behind, who is Saquon Barkley. My goodness. He has created a 50-point lead on a running back that is only now just taking their bye. It's not like Saquon Barkley had a bye week in the past and that's why he's down 50 points. No, he's up 50 points in half-point PPR to the next best running back. He's just been absolutely incredible this season. I don't think that the Saints defense, we saw a little bit of weaknesses against Latavius Murray. Latavius Murray, which is obviously not like a perennial Pro Bowler by any means, he was able to take advantage with a very beat up offensive line and have some decent runs. I thought they should have continued to run, but the Saints can be exploited in the run game. And I think it's going to be a very, very telling matchup on how the playoffs are going to go this season. So be sure, if I'm not mistaken, Cooper Kupp is back. So this Rams offense is going to be full go. It's going to be fun. Todd Gurley, he's my number 1 going forward until, otherwise noted, until he has a bye week. All right, number 2, we have Kareem Hunt playing against the Cleveland defense that I mentioned a little bit before. Gives up, I think, they're in the top 10. I think they give up the 9th most points to the running back position thus far this season. Kareem Hunt's been incredible. Obviously a product of just how successful this Chiefs offense has been the last 2 seasons. Kareem Hunt continues to find himself some success in fantasy, and he's absolutely insane. I got to check this text, everybody. One momentum. It's urgent. Okay, relax. Kareem Hunt can wait. Yeah. Okay, so anyway, as I was mentioning, Kareem Hunt, here's the deal. Every single week, it's pretty insane. How many points has Kareem Hunt put up? He's put up 155 points. Oh, Jesus. He's having a pretty good season, right? We all thought, okay, there's going to be some struggles with this Chiefs offense going into the season. Like in the preseason, we all ranked Kareem Hunt around 8, 9, 10 at the running back position, even though he came out last season and he was a top 4 running back. So we thought, okay, there's going to be a little bit of regression within this offense. Without Alex Smith, they're not going to be able to move the ball as much. They're not going to have as much opportunity. Well, we didn't expect Patrick Mahomes to come out and completely light the league on fire by scoring, I don't know, how many fantasy points did he put up a week? Just as much as Gurley either way. But as of right now, Kareem Hunt, he's my number 2. Has a great matchup. He continues to find success within the run game and even in the passing game. Did you see that hurdle from this past week? Goodness gracious, he's so good. Okay, let's move on. Number 3, Christian McCaffrey playing against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. My goodness. Joe Mixon completely torched the Tampa Bay defense. Had 25 points in the first half. Took a break in the second half. No big deal. Christian McCaffrey's going to ruin this defense. The Tampa Bay defense is absolutely awful. We know Ryan Fitzpatrick, who's the starting quarterback for this coming week for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he's going to come out. He's going to try to light it up. He's going to try to throw the ball, blah, blah, blah. Good luck with that. Even if he ends up being successful, it's even that much more of an opportunity for Christian McCaffrey hopefully it's a competitive game so that he can continue to rack up yards. He's going to have a fantastic week against a very, very bad defense. By all means, Christian McCaffrey's a stud, so start him up. Number 4, Alvin Kamara. Good guys. I mean, it's insane how many more attempts he's having as of late. Where is the statistics? Let's go ahead and pull this up. Alvin Kamara, I mean, oh goodness, why did I click that? Come on. What are we doing here? Thank you. All right. As of late, right, he's getting a good amount of touches on the ground, right? Again, a couple weeks back, he had, in my opinion, one of the most, I think if I'm not mistaken, the most touches in his career within a single game on the ground. He has been the go-to. Mark Ingram is still getting his stats, right? He's still being able to produce within the offense. But, I mean, like Mark Ingram, right? And Alvin Kamara. You would expect Mark Ingram to get more carries on the ground. That's not the case. Mark Ingram, 13 carries, 63 yards. Alvin Kamara, 13 carries, 45 yards on the ground. But Alvin Kamara had that rushing touchdown, right? Because I think it was before halftime, they're just like slinging it, and then he was in the game. It doesn't matter. But here's the thing that makes Alvin Kamara that much more fantasy relevant. 7 catches, 31 receiving yards, and a receiving touchdown. It's not like Mark Ingram's not involved in the passing game. Dude had 29 receiving yards with 3 receptions, right? They're both being involved, but Alvin Kamara, as of late, has been fantastic. I don't think the Rams defense is going to be able to have an answer for him in the passing game. So I think he's going to have a great week. He's my number 4 this week. Number 5, we have Melvin Gordon coming off the bye week. Here's the thing. Little asterisk should have been next to him. Production team will take the fall for that. But either way, Melvin Gordon this coming week. I may have said Melvin Ingram, but I hopefully didn't, okay? Melvin Gordon this week of the Los Angeles Chargers plays against the Seattle Seahawks, a defense that is much improved and is honestly on its way trending upward. So here's the way I see it. If Melvin Gordon is not healthy this week, Austin Ekeler gets a huge boost, is a top 20 running back this coming week. Now, if Melvin Gordon does play, which I fully expect him to do so, he's had a week off plus to heal his hamstring that somehow got injured on the way towards the London game against the Tennessee Titans 2 weeks back. So Melvin Gordon, he is the offense of the Chargers. Obviously, Phillip Rivers in the passing game is an extremely vital part, but the offensive line, Melvin Gordon, they dictate this offense. They've been fantastic this season. I don't think that the Seattle Seahawks will be able to slow him down very much. He's my number 5 running back. Number 6, James Conner. Yes, he's playing the Ravens defense, but it doesn't worry me to the point where I'm sitting James Conner. James Conner's been fantastic. He's scored the 3rd most fantasy points amongst running backs this season. Has 600 rushing yards this season. 900. What am I doing? Can I just slow down for a second? Look at this properly. 900. Okay, he has thus far this season 600 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns, and 323 receiving yards. Pretty much 923 all-purpose yards thus far this season, and 9 touchdowns. That is some insane. I mean, this is only halfway through the season, and they've already used their bye week up. So going forward, James Conner, goodness gracious, he's been fantastic this season. I don't care what you put in front of him. I don't care if it's the Ravens, if you put in the Legends team of Mean Joe Green, Julius Randle. Brian Bosworth from college. I don't care what you do. Brian Dawkins, Ray Lewis. It doesn't matter. I'm still, okay, maybe I'm a little worried at that point. But still, what I'm trying to say is I'm not worried about him starting because of the matchup. I think he's matchup proof to this point, and he's been way too good as of late for you to be benching him. I mean, in fantasy, the last 3 weeks, okay, 35.7 fantasy points, 26.9 fantasy points, and 32.5 fantasy points. He's been fantastic. He's a 30-plus a week kind of guy as of late. I don't think it's going to be that great, but I think he's still going to find success. That's why he's my number 6. Let's move on to number 7, Ezekiel Elliott. Guys, I'm hoping the offense opens up. I'm praying that it opens up. Now, here's the deal. This is the only issue that I currently have with Ezekiel Elliott, why he's down here at 7. He plays a decent matchup to where the Titans are gonna be able to hold him at some points. But the right guard, I mean, we all know Travis Frederick, the all-pro center. He's been out with illness this entire season due to that disease that he has. He was placed on the IR a couple weeks back, so he's not going to come back this coming season unless, I doubt he comes back. I wouldn't even suggest him coming back. He needs to get healthy. That's what's number one, right? After that, Zach Martin, the right guard that is an all-pro as well. He has gotten an MCL sprain on his knee, on his right knee, if I'm not mistaken. So this is the issue with that. We know that there's been a couple players thus far this season that have dealt with MCL sprains. Number one, it was Doug Baldwin. He took about 4 weeks to come back. Number two, it was Cooper Kupp, who hopefully is coming back this week, which would be a 3-week turnaround for him. And then there's O.J. Howard, who literally took 1 week and was back on the field. I'm not sure to what extent Zach Martin is banged up, but hopefully he's able to play, because if Zach Martin's not able to play, Ezekiel Elliott will not have as good of an opportunity, because Zach Martin, a Pro Bowl, a guy that is easily one of the best guards in the NFL, if not top 2 or 3 right guards or right-left guards in the NFL. So he's a guy that this team absolutely needs. So that's why I've dropped a little bit of Ezekiel Elliott's ranking for this coming week. Number 8, we have James White. Now, this is very contingent on whether Sony Michel plays. I'm not sure where Sony Michel is right now. I haven't really heard anything. Not sure if he's even practicing. You know what? Let's go ahead and do that right now, shall we? Let's see if Mr. Sony Michel has been practicing this week. All right, so he still has the questionable tag, which we all expected. It says... Okay, so I don't have any news on Sony Michel. What I'm expecting, right, playing against the Packers this week, the Patriots, I don't know if they're going to use him. If this injury is MCL related, they're going to hold him out again. If it's anything to be, he got twisted up. So it's obviously nothing that is going to be, season threatening, but I think it's going to be something that they're going to keep their eye on. He's a rookie. They don't want him to be injured rest of season, right? They've got to go a long way. So I think James White going forward, we saw what he was able to do this past week. There's a reason why. I honestly I love James White. You can't convince me otherwise. James White, oh my goodness. The last couple, this dude in half-point PPR hasn't scored less than 10 points a single time this season. Even Ezekiel Elliott has been held to like 5 points a couple times. But this guy's, even James Conner has been held under 10 points thus far this season. Let me see about Melvin. Yeah, Melvin Gordon's a monster. Kareem Hunt's a monster. But he's been held to 5 points once. James White, as of late, 20 fantasy points, 25 fantasy points, 11, 18, 27. Dude is a monster. Especially if Sony Michel's not playing. This guy in the passing game is unstoppable in PPR. He's my number 8. Number 9, Tarik Cohen continues to find himself fantasy relevance, even with one catch this past week. He only caught the ball once, but it was for 70 yards and a touchdown. Made himself relevant. Has been, 18-plus fantasy points for the last 4 weeks, if I'm not mistaken. Guy's incredible. He's my number 9. I don't see Jordan Howard's increased opportunity to affect him very much, because we've seen Jordan Howard be pretty much not even used in the passing game. We thought Jordan Howard going into the season would be used more a little bit, because Matt Nagy said, yeah, he can catch the ball, he's fine. No. Tarik Cohen is a receiving back. He's going to be extremely good this week. They play against the Buffalo Bills. They're going to score a lot of points, and Tarik Cohen is going to be part of that. So he's my number 9. Number 10, as I mentioned before a little bit ago, Adrian Peterson, full stream ahead. Turned the ship around. This man is 30-some odd years old, 35 plus, I don't know. And he is incredible, right? Just the fact that he's been on fire. The offensive line is, a really consistently good offensive line. They have a couple Pro Bowlers over there in Washington. On top of that, they run the ball a ton, which is going to help, right? When you run the ball a ton and you have a guy like Adrian Peterson that is just slugging every single down, that defense is going to wear out. And when you have, he's a legend at this point, right? I say Larry Legend for Larry Fitzgerald all the time. Adrian Peterson is a living legend, playing and just completely schooling kids left, right, and center. They play against the Falcons this week. It's a fantastic matchup. They've given up the 4th most fantasy points to the running back position. Boom. Let's start them. All right. Chris Carson, number 11. We've seen him be relevant every single week until, I don't think they're going to use Mike Davis any more than they have. I don't think they're going to be using Rashad Penny any more than they had. But as of late, he's just been so good. The Seahawks, they needed a running game, right? They've been missing that for a couple seasons, and they found it again. Chris Carson has struggled with injury this season, but when he's had, his consistency, look at these carries. Goodness gracious. 25 carries for 105 rushing yards and a touchdown this past week. Yes, it was against an easy matchup, but I think the Los Angeles Chargers matchup this week is not going to be something to be worried about. He is my number 11. Start him up, baby. Let's go. Number 12, Latavius Murray, my first start of the week that I mentioned before. I'm not going to go into any more detail than I did prior, except for the fact that he's got a great matchup. He's been fantastic as of late. And by all means, they're going to have to run the ball in order to be successful. So there it is, Latavius Murray. Number 13, Phillip Lindsay. Okay, he was one of my starts of the week this past week. He played against the Kansas City Chiefs defense, right? You're going to find success against the Kansas City Chiefs defense. That's exactly what he did. Now, here's my main concern. They play against the Texans, who don't give up many points to the running back position. They're quite stout up front with J.J. Watt, Clowney. Who else do these guys have? I was going to say Brian Cushing, and then I just realized Brian Cushing got popped for steroids like 7 times. The dude's not even close to the league anymore. Who else do they have, honestly, defensively? I know they have Tyrann Mathieu. They have Jonathan Joseph. They have that younger middle linebacker. I forget his last name. Is it Cole? Something Cole. Either way, irrelevant. This is the way I see it. Lindsay is still going to be used, whether it's in the passing game or in the running game. Yes, this team has lost Demaryius Thomas, so Cortland Sutton's going to step up, but I still think they're going to have to run the game. This is a run-first team, in my opinion. Don't think they want to keep the ball in Case Keenum's hand very often, so they're going to have to dictate everything on the running game first and then go to play action and then open it up if they're down a lot of points. But either way, I like this game. They're at home. Phillip Lindsay's been great. I think you should 100% start him. He's my number 13. Number 14, Jordan Howard. As I mentioned before, Tarik Cohen's been popping off. But here's the deal. They play against the Bills. So everybody on the Bears is pretty much a start this week, right? You're playing against a terrible team. Technically, that defense, they held their own, right? We've seen them hold their own. They've smacked the Vikings at the Vikings. They held, the Patriots to 9 points in the first half this past week, this past Monday. We've seen them hold the Tennessee Titans to, the Tennessee Titans, they're not fantastic, but still, they're holding offenses to minimal points. They're able to do so. So you may be thinking, is there a worry? I still don't think there's a worry. I think Jordan Howard is my number 14 for a reason. He needs to start. He's a great play this week. He's my number 14. Number 15, Kenyan Drake. I'm going to keep harping until this dude, I think he can be a good RB2 rest of season. Good RB2 as an upper tier. That's why he's at number 15 as of right now. He's been good as of late. As of the last 4 weeks, he has been absolutely a fantasy relevant running back. This week against the Jets, I think the matchup is pretty juicy. Hopefully, off of the performances that he's put up as of late, they will see to get him more carries. Hopefully, he will not be out-carried by Frank Gore for another consecutive week. If he does, it's fine. Kenyan Drake's a playmaker, and he's a baller. Dude's going to be finding his points without a doubt. Number 16, Kerryon Johnson for the Detroit Lions. He's been great as of late. This past week wasn't as consistent because that Seattle defense was able to shut him down to an extent, and the game script pretty much turned into we need to throw the ball, in which he was able to contribute in the passing game because of the absence of Theo Riddick. This coming week, he's my number 16, playing against the Vikings defense. I think he'll find some success in that, whether it's in the passing game or the running game. There's going to be more opportunity for him now that Golden Tate is out of the lineup and now traded to the Eagles. So I think there's going to be more opportunity for just about everyone within this offense, but Kerryon Johnson will improve going forward. Number 17, my next start of the week, Nick Chubb, playing against the Kansas City defense. Great matchup. And they're going to have to run the ball. He's getting 18 attempts as a starter for the Cleveland Browns, and this offense is going to have to run the ball because with the new offensive coordinator, everything's going to be a little bit fuzzled, and uncomfortable for everybody, but they'll eventually figure it out. They're going to run the ball. Nick Chubb, number 17. Number 18, Lamar Miller. An absolute beast as of late. Not an absolute beast, but he's been a top 10 running back in half-point PPR each of the last 2 weeks on my waiver wire video. I don't count the Monday night games because doesn't matter. Irrelevant. He's been great. He's a RB1 each of the last 2 weeks. Plays against the number 10 ranked defense when it comes to giving points to the running back position, which means the Denver Broncos, we've seen them give up 200 rushing yard games. We've seen them be really bad against the run. And I think they're going to be able to get their asses beat by Lamar Miller this week. It's kind of scary prospect to think that Lamar Miller can run the ball down your throat, but I wouldn't doubt it. He's my number 18. Number 19. All right, we're going to go through these a little bit quickly because these are we'll go at them at a decent pace. Okay, Aaron Jones. Now that they've traded away good old Ty Montgomery, Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams are the only 2 running backs within this backfield, which is pretty much what they wanted ever since they drafted them last season. They thought, okay, we're going to bring in 2 rookies, and eventually we'd be able to finally have a running back. Ty Montgomery was a wide receiver that was pretty much turned into a running back because the wide receiver position for the Packers are pretty much impacted, and due to all the injuries that the Packers sustained a couple years back, Montgomery just turned into a running back. Going forward, Aaron Jones is going to have the running. The running back position is pretty much all his. He'll have the goal line carries, hopefully. Jamal Williams won't completely poach that every week. But besides that, he's had an ample amount of running attempts each of the last 2 weeks. He's had good production. He's had good yards per carry. And on top of that, he is going to be the lead back when it comes to taking the ball out of the backfield, when it comes to the receiving game. I like Aaron Jones this week in a pretty good matchup against the Patriots. He's my number 19. Number 20, Mark Ingram. He's been good this season to the point to where you might be thinking, okay, he's only a 10-point a week kind of guy. Can I trust that? Well, that's up to you. If you want the 10 points, there it is. He has an upside of 16, but he is for sure 10 points. This coming week against the Rams, all they got to do is get to the 1-yard line, and he pretty much is guaranteed a touchdown as long as it's not a hurry-up offense where they're trying to keep Kamara in the game. So he's my number 20. Let's move on. Number 21, my next start of the week, Matt Breida. As I mentioned before, against the Oakland Raiders this week, this offense is going to have to run the ball because of the injury to C.J. Beathard. So there might be a chance that the Raiders blitz every down, but there's also a chance that Matt Breida has himself a very good game, which I think is going to happen. He's my number 21. Number 22, we have Doug Martin. In the same game, in the same breath, I think this game, it's going to be somewhat of a shootout, but at the same time, both these running backs are going to find success, especially if the Raiders get ahead very quickly. It's going to force them to have to run the clock out, in which Doug Martin will go ahead. He'll be able to kill the clock. He'll be able to be productive. He was productive this past week against the Colts, and I think he can do the same against the 49ers. Moving on to number 23, Dion Lewis, playing against the Cowboys this coming week. The Cowboys have struggled against running backs out of the backfield and catching the ball. They give up a lot of yards to receiving running backs. We've seen it in the past, and I think Dion Lewis is going to continue to be used more and more within this offense to the point where Derrick Henry eventually fizzles out. He's my number 23 this week. Number 24, my last start of the week, Isaiah Crowell. I've put him at 24 just to be careful. He is an RB2/RB3 fringe area, but I really do think against the Miami Dolphins, a team that has been terrible against the run, the third worst team against the running back position in fantasy football this season, I think he has a very good opportunity. He's my number 24. Number 25, Tevin Coleman. I mentioned him before in this video. Hasn't been great. He's been quite disappointing. But then again, I cannot ignore the fact that he is the starting running back for a team, and he's going to have the production, whether it's in the running game or in the passing game. Hopefully he ends up doing something for somebody. But as of right now, I'm just a little worried. He's pretty much an RB3 at this point. Number 25. Sorry, that's my number 25. Number 26, Jalen Richard. He may not be the best running back, but he does find himself some fantasy value, having 8 catches on 8 targets this past week, 50-plus yards. That's exactly what you want. In a PPR league, you are just dancing because Jalen Richard is incredibly, valuable. But on top of that, because of the absence of Marshawn Lynch going to the IR, he'll find more opportunities, sometimes in the passing game, sometimes on the goal line. You never know. Going forward, but this coming week, he's an RB3 kind of flex position. and probably that going forward, just as long as maybe Doug Martin gets hurt, and then we can just completely upgrade Richard. Number 27, Payton Barber. I think he's going to be decent. The only issue is they play the Panthers, who's a pretty good front seven this season. They've been pretty good against the running back position. My only worry is that when Fitzpatrick is under center, Payton Barber isn't used as much or hasn't been as efficient with Fitzpatrick. They're going to have to, if you are a Deshaun Jackson owner, Chris Godwin owner, O.J. Howard owner, Mike Evans owner, congratulations. But Payton Barber, he's a flex play. Alex Collins, number 28. With the acquisition of Ty Montgomery, I'm just a little worried about this backfield. On top of it, he plays the Steelers defense. He hasn't been great this season. Many of his good performances are really contingent on him catching or scoring a touchdown on the goal line. Other than those games, he's been pretty god-awful, to be honest, this season. He's my number 28. Number 29, Frank Gore. As much as I said that I want Kenyan Drake to get more touches, I don't think Adam Gase is going to do that. I think he's going to continue to run Frank Gore into the ground. Frank Gore is going to be a decent flex play this coming week. RB3 at best, but don't expect him to get any catches out of the backfield. He's not worth that. He is just worth 13 touches, 60 yards rushing. That's pretty much it. He's a 6-point guy. That's pretty much his extent. He has the upside of a touchdown, but I doubt he gets there. All right, number 30, Chris Thompson. I think that there is a good opportunity for Chris Thompson to show up and have a good week, but will he? I'm not sure if that's possible with the production that Adrian Peterson has had as of late. I don't know. I think he can be successful. He's a little banged up. I know he played this past week, but did he do anything? Not really. He had a couple touches. I'm not 100% certain if you can even start him this week because he's just not being featured as much as we like him to be. But we've seen the Redskins use him in the past, so there's a potential they continue to maybe use him in the passing game. We'll just have to wait and see. But he's my number 30 this week. Number 31, Austin Ekeler, as I mentioned before. If Melvin Gordon does not play this week, he is an automatic top 20 running back. But as of right now, he is just a flex play in a PPR league that has upside of a touchdown and gets potential receiving yards. But other than that, he's pretty much, that's pretty much everybody going forward. Like Ito Smith, he's a flex play, and hopefully he gets a touchdown. Otherwise, irrelevant. LeSean McCoy plays against the Bears defense. That is the second best defense against the running back position thus far this season. They do not give up yards to anybody. They are not willing to give up rushing yards, and they are not going to give up rushing yards. This Bills offense is absolutely terrible. Nathan Peterman is back at quarterback. So Bears defensive owners, congratulations. You get a free 20 points this week. But LeSean McCoy, I don't want to start him. Number 34, Ty Montgomery. I have a little bit of I don't know what it is. I have a thought in my head that revolves around Joe Flacco dumping it off to Ty Montgomery 8 times a game. Why? Because I've seen him do it in the past. I've absolutely seen him do it in the past with Kyle Juszczyk, with Ray Rice many years back, with Danny Woodhead a couple years back. I've seen him have to, dump the ball down to the running back position. Most notably, we saw with Javoris Allen this past season, who had a lot of receiving yards for the Ravens. We've seen him use receiving backs. Obviously, they're not looking to use Javoris Allen. That's why they brought in Ty Montgomery for basically free. A 2020 7th-round pick? You're not going to find much value there, but the Packers wanted to get rid of him. There's a potential that Montgomery could be decent if he plays this week. The next guy I want to talk about, Duke Johnson, garbage can. The only time he'll ever be relevant going forward is if Nick Chubb somehow miraculously, loses his cleats, forgets his helmet, does something stupid, gets arrested just like all these other backup quarterbacks that keep getting snaps. Otherwise, Duke Johnson, not interested. The last guy I wanted to mention, Mike Davis. These guys are just situational plays. If you play in a very deep league, you can try it, but I just don't trust these guys. That's pretty much it, guys. There hasn't been, this was a tough list to put together, right? I'm missing 6 teams worth of running backs, and some of those teams had multiple running backs, right? Like there's guys like on the Eagles, there's 2 good running backs there, Adams and Smallwood. On the Cincinnati Bengals, you have a Mixon. On the Giants, you have Barkley. On the Jaguars, you have a Yeldon-Hyde combo. Who else? The Marlon Mack, Neem Hines are missing this week. There's a lot of guys that's missing. But either way, I want to thank everybody for watching. If you haven't already yet, go down, click the subscribe button to get more content, and hit that like button. I'd greatly appreciate it. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching again. And the next video will be wide receivers, will be later today. That is a given. And until then, I'll see you guys.